state senator here in the state of Michigan. I'm honored to welcome you all to this event where we are going to hear from several of our judges candidates. But I also want to take the opportunity to say thank you to Our Own Wall Street, who is presenting this event today. They are a nonpartisan 501c3 organization, so they are not political, but this is an opportunity to educate the community on our judges who are so important to our communities. I know that the legislature introduces the laws, but it's up to our judges to actually execute on those laws in our courts. And so we want to say thank you all for being here, and I hope that this will be a fulfilled event and provide a lot of information to our constituency across the state of Michigan around our judges and how important they are, especially here in southeastern Michigan, Wayne County. So thank you all for being here, and it's an honor, and I'm going to turn it over to Portia, who is here as your MC today. Thank you.
Thank you. How's everyone doing today? Perfect. So, good afternoon. Thank you all for being here today. It's such an honor and a privilege to serve as the moderator for today's panel discussion, Flip the Ballot. So, I know that Justice Harris has some words, so before we go ahead and get started, I'll let her go ahead and address the crowd, and then we'll do introductions of all of the judges once she's done.
All right. Well, hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Michigan Supreme Court Justice Kyra Harris Goldberg. I just want to say thank you to everyone for being here today. Thank you for providing the platform for us to talk about judicial races and our jobs as judges, because this is something that goes under the radar quite a bit. I will start off by saying I ran for Michigan Supreme Court in 2022. And what we found was there was a 1 million vote drop-off between the governor's race and the nonpartisan section of the ballot. So there were Michiganders who were there that had their ballot ready to exercise their right to vote that missed an incredibly crucial part of the ballot. And again, with us being the most justice-impacted community, we have to make sure that we are voting for our judges. Judges with integrity, judges that have a heart for the people. And do not forget that this is a service role. You are hiring judges to make decisions on behalf of the community. And we are getting paid with your tax dollars. So you don't want to miss that crucial section of your ballot. Pay attention to who shows up in the community, because a lot of people will say, well, I didn't know who to vote for, so I didn't vote in that section. All of us have websites, and you know what? If you don't have a website, everybody has a website. Because I was about to say so. People are here looking for your vote, ready to answer your questions. There are people that don't take the time to be in the community, and you just need to pay attention to that. Who is actually in the community, who's actually wanting to earn your vote. So, I sit on the Michigan Supreme Court, which is the highest court in the state of Michigan. I'm also the first Black woman to ever serve. And I'm also the youngest, and I say that, but in context, I'm only the 14th woman. 14th woman. I'm only the 6th Black person. So we have obviously made a lot of progress, but we have so far to go with seeing equity in our justice system and making sure that our community is in a position of power. And so it starts from the ballot box. You have to go to the nonpartisan section of the ballot. You have to bubble us in individually, along with your school board and other races. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions about what we actually do. But at the Michigan Supreme Court level, we hear all the cases that can possibly make it to the court, right? So we hear civil and criminal. So people I have run across, they say, well, don't you only do constitutional questions, or don't you only do criminal law? No, we do everything. So that means termination of parental rights. That That means election issues. That means who and what is on your ballot sometimes. Because if the Board of Canvassers deadlocks, that's an issue that's going to go to the Michigan Supreme Court. We do child custody issues, but we also do zoning ordinances and tax issues, right? So we hear it all. And so, you know, again, I implore you to make sure that you are voting in the nonpartisan section of your ballot. You don't want to miss these very crucial races, especially with the level of justice impact that we have in our community. So just a little bit about me, and then I will hand it over. So born and raised in Michigan. I've never left. I'm a lifelong Michigan resident. Went to Grand Valley State University, went to University of Detroit Mercy School of Law. Once I was barred, I did court-appointed criminal defense work. I was a judicial law clerk for Judge John A. Murphy, who's the longest serving Black judge in the state of Michigan's history. I then was a civil litigation attorney for Lewis and Monday, which is one of the oldest and largest Black-owned law firms in the country. I served 2 terms in the House of Representatives. Was able to get 5 bills passed into law while serving in the minority, focusing on criminal justice reform and protecting survivors of sexual violence. Again, ran for the first time for Michigan Supreme Court in 2022 while I was finishing up my time in the legislature. And during that time, I was pregnant with my first child. So this is a statewide race. And so when I did that in 2022, I was fueled by ignorance and adrenaline for all the mamas in there. And but we made it. I had my baby in the middle of the campaign. And I accepted the nomination for Michigan Supreme Court 6 days after I gave birth. I lost that race by 2 percentage points. Roughly 200,000 votes across the state of Michigan. So when I tell you that there was a 1 million vote drop-off between the governor's race and the nonpartisan section of the ballot, I feel like at least 200,000 of those votes were mine. They just missed the section, right? So we don't want to lose these races for good, qualified individuals simply because folks are not voting in the nonpartisan section. Our communities cannot afford it. We cannot afford it. So I hope that you listen diligently to the people running for office today and make valid and informed decisions, but most importantly, do not miss the nonpartisan section of the ballot. I'm going to say it 5 more times. Do not miss the nonpartisan section of the ballot. Do not miss. Let me tell you, and I will end with this. It is not fun to lose a statewide race by this much when you are 2 months postpartum, okay? So that's why I'm very, very passionate about this. And I am confident that this year we are going to close that drop off and make sure that we have some wonderful Black women elected to the bench. So thank you so much.
Justice Harris Bolden. We appreciate your sentiments. Again, like she said, do not miss the bipartisan portion of the ballot. So,
yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Again, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here for this timely and important discussion. Again, my name is Portia Monique, founder of Portia Monique Media, entrepreneur, and renowned journalist. So I have had the privilege of speaking with distinguished voices and powerful change makers over the years, and today it's no different. So let's go ahead and get started. I promise I won't keep you guys long. We're not at church. But we are here to learn more about each of these candidates in this year's important election. So today's conversation will focus on the essential role that judicial and local races play in our democracy, right? So it's crucial for all of us to be informed about those decisions that we make beyond the front of the ticket. And oftentimes, we all know this, is that it's so easy to overlook these type of races, but the impact of these judicial and local government races can be felt in every aspect of our lives. So that's why it's extremely important to take the time to understand it, and today, that's what we're aiming to do. Now, you guys see that we have an incredible lineup of women here, our panelists, all leaders in their respective fields, who will speak to the importance of your vote on the flip side of the ballot. Each of them is committed to serving justice, fostering equity, and ensuring that our legal governmental systems reflect the communities that they serve. So let's go ahead, and to begin, I will ask each of our distinguished panelists to introduce themselves briefly, and then we'll get right into the conversation. We'll start with you on the end.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm Adrienne Scruggs. I'm running for Wayne County Circuit Court Judge. There is one open seat. The Wayne County Circuit Court is comprised of approximately 59 judges, and there are several divisions and subsections. So there's the criminal division, which everybody's familiar with, now moved over from Frank Murphy to the Criminal Justice Center. There's the civil division and the domestic division, divided up into family and juvenile. I've been an attorney almost 20 years, and I'm the only candidate who has the diversity of experience where I have advocated for my clients before the bench, seeking justice on their behalf in areas of criminal, civil, family, and probate law. Spent a lot of time doing indigent defendant representation out in 36th District Court, Frank Murphy, Oakland County, and Monroe County. Worked for the civil division of the Circuit Court for a phenomenal judge who's no longer with us, Judge Prentice Edwards Sr., who taught me then what I'm model now, which are my ABCs. That's to always be calm, making sure you have the appropriate judicial temperament, and that you're treating people with dignity and respect when they come before the court. I worked for the Friend of the Court for 9.5 years as a senior staff attorney and special prosecutor, which is the 8th largest Friend of the Court in the country, and also joined the outreach team so that I can bridge the gap between court and community, because people are not going to go down to the court to litigate their interests. They have a legitimate fear if they go down there, they're going to be arrested. And so going out to those community locations, which are arrest-free zones, are a passion of mine. I still champion them, and I still connect those locations. Now, I am a judicial officer. I serve as a family law referee at the Washtenaw County Trial Court. I've been doing that for the last several years. And so I have the experience of presiding over cases and understanding what it means when people come to court and they're seeking justice, and you can either serve as a bridge or a barrier for them to do that. And so I'm a Detroit girl, born and raised, graduated from Renaissance High School, proud of that. Here we go. Tennessee State University graduate and Wayne State University graduate. And I ask that you vote Scruggs for judge. I'm happy to have conversations, and I'm looking forward to today.
Everyone, my name is Aaliyah Sabri. I am the Chief Judge Pro Tem at 36th District Court. I actually had my 7-year anniversary on Thursday. I'm considered a veteran at this point. And anyone who's been down in 36th District knows that we handle all types of matters, including we become social workers, community service activists. We become everything. It's the People's Court. I'm blessed to have that job. A little background, I've always been in public service. My family has as well. Goes back to my great-grandmother, who was a state rep. But I worked for the prosecutor's office for 4 years, and I went to the city of Detroit. I worked for the Board of Police Commissioners as their attorney, the water department, and the mayor's office. So I have had a broad experience in government, and I think that it has helped me in the administrative side with the court, which is a whole different animal than being on the bench. But I know a lot of what I want to say will be answered in my questions that I'm going to be tasked with handling. So I won't talk too much now. I just want to say that at the end of this, I know people are recording. I would ask that you all share this information, because I know social media is one of the quickest ways to get information across to all the voters. So thank you. I look forward to answering your questions. And I'm a Renaissance graduate as well.
Can I just say something really quick? And then we made history together, starting the Warrant Clinic from Wall Street, Detroit Warrant Clinic. So this is our judge, Eva Satan.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Macy Gaines. I'm running for Wayne County Probate Court Judge. There are 2 vacancies. There are 4 candidates running, and what probate court covers is the protection of the voiceless. It protects the vulnerable, children as well. And what we do is we have the guardianship docket, conservatorships, transferring property after death, and the mental health docket, also the developmentally disabled docket. I've always been very passionate about the protection of vulnerable people. I was a guardian for 2 people in my own family and have been through the probate process. I was a caregiver for my grandmother, and I had also dealt with my father's estate in 2022. This made my career really easy to transition to because I have been practicing probate my entire career. I was also a probate professor at my law school, Detroit Mercy Law, teaching future lawyers how to manage and really do probate, practice probate. I've also been the probate litigation chair for the Detroit Bar Association and a 10-year member of the Wayne County Probate Bar Association. These type of things make me uniquely qualified because not only have I stood in the shoes of those who enter probate court, but I can also match you with the legal experience and the knowledge to deal with your case, understand what's going on, and efficiently get you in and out of probate court. But one of the most important things, I think Justice Bolden had touched on it, is one of the most important things you want in a judge is somebody who is committed to service. You want a servant leader. As she stated, and I kind of reiterate, is we're here begging you to be public servants. Like, we are asking for your votes to serve you. And it is important to make sure that you hold us as candidates or even elected officials and judges as public servants, hold us accountable as public servants. And I have actively and routinely done estate workshops around the city and in the rec centers with my husband to help people avoid probate with estate plans, which if you happen to be in probate, we help navigate through it. I've also been very active with the NAACP, Ask the Lawyer, and Lakeshore Legal Aid, Homes for Generations, Probate Clinic. The list goes on, but my heart's always been dedicated to service, and that's been paramount to my career. We do have a lot at stake in this election, a whole lot, on every level, including the election of judges. So we ask that you flip the ballot over and gain with gains, gain with gains, and gain with gains. For Wayne County Probate Court Judge.
All right, good afternoon. My name is Malika Ramsey Heath. I am running for judge of 36th District Court. We have 2 open seats, so while we're talking about the awesomeness of black women today, this one right here sitting next to me is also on the same ticket. We got 2 seats. There is a real sisterhood that has come out of campaigning together for months on end, and I consider everybody up here one of my sisters. I have been working in community for a long time. I started in my early 20s transitioning women who were returning home from prison, reintegrating them into the community, into their families, those kinds of things. After that, I worked for Marianne Mahaffey in this city. She was kind of my earliest mentor and teacher. She was very, very focused on addressing issues of poverty and inequity and injustice. And I was raised by civil rights attorneys, but it was good to have that other mentor to reinforce the importance of that and allow me to connect directly with citizens in trying to resolve issues and barriers to what they needed, to getting what they needed. After that, I ran a program called the Detroit Vacant Property Campaign. That program was focused on maintaining value of our neighborhoods in the city during the foreclosure crisis, so that once we weathered the crisis, we had neighborhoods that had not crumbled. You know, we already deal with a lot of vacancy in this city, but we wanted to make sure that those neighborhoods that we could keep strong, we kept strong, and the ones that we could strengthen, that we strengthened. I then practiced on my own for a little while, doing all kinds of law, before going to the State Appellate Defender's Office, where I represented indigent defendants for about 10 years. Those defendants were mostly already in prison. We were battling to get their sentences corrected or pleas withdrawn or to get them new trials. The goal was to make sure that the system worked fairly, that it worked how it was supposed to work so that we had results that we could depend on. I spent a number of years doing that, and then I got a call from the court. When the court Chief Judge McConaughey began talking with the ACLU about bail reform, he called me and said, I need somebody who gets this. I need somebody who understands this. Would you come? And I jumped at the opportunity to come and be a part of that. You know, so I'm one of the magistrates at the court now, and I've been a magistrate at the court for about 5 years. Sometimes I make the news when people like what I do, and sometimes I make the news when they don't. But my commitment is to doing what is right each and every time, okay? There, you know, you get snippets of things in the news, but I've practiced in this area enough that I can see the gaps, I can see the deficiencies, and I can see the red flags pretty quickly. And those do sometimes drive my decisions, because what I always remember is that the person standing in front of me is the person that I work for, okay? They are depending upon me as a gatekeeper to let in what's right, to keep out what's wrong, and to make sure that the result they get that day is one that they understand and one that is just, all right? And so all I can do every day is my best to make that happen, and I do it without regard for what the media has to say about it, quite frankly. So that's me in a nutshell. I'm happy to be here with all of you today to answer your questions. I hope you will share our message if you like what you're hearing. And everybody in here, I'm sure, knows to flip the ballot, right? But we all have friends and family members who don't. They think as long as they vote Democrat or they vote, that is a vote. Well, judges, as you all know, are nonpartisan. So we have to remind our friends and family who aren't sitting in this room to flip that ballot over and please vote for the judges. All right, thank you all.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andrea Bradley Baskin, and I too am running for 36th District Court, and I'm so excited that we have 36th District Court representing today. Okay? And the reason that I say that, along with my sisters who we've been on this journey together, but the reason that I say that is because a lot of times people ask, why does this court matter? And as someone said, it is the people's court. It is the court that people are most likely in the city of Detroit to come into contact with. From a housing crisis, from a landlord or tenant perspective, from a driving on suspended license issue or a ticket, a person accused of or a victim of a crime, all of that starts at the People's Court, 36th District Court, okay? And even civil disputes under $25,000 will start and end there. So it is so important that in this election season, there are going to be 2 new judges that are elected. I can tell you that the 2 judges that are leaving have had a long tenure at the court. As Judge Sabri indicated, she's just celebrated her 7th year. This is not a position that changes frequently. So when you're looking at who you're going to elect for this next season, you can anticipate that barring some move or major catastrophe, which I don't believe will happen, that they're going to be there for a while. So you want them to be the right person, okay? And so I stand before you today, 17 years into my practice, submitting to you all, the citizens of Detroit, that I am the right person for one of those seats. I say that with all due respect for your vote, because I respect my vote. And I cast it for people who I've done the research on and who I believe have done the preparation for the job that they've asked to do. I think too often people want to do things but have not necessarily prepared for it. And I'm not one of those people. I feel that it's important to have judges who know the law. So I can tell you I do know the law. As I indicated, 17 years I've practiced. I've done everything. I started from doing large law firm experience, where I did civil litigation, so I could work a civil docket at 36th District Court because I've been a civil litigator. I've litigated cases across the country and managed as outside counsel for GM as an outside counsel for 13 states on the West Coast, okay? I did that in my 3rd year of practice, so I've been doing this a while. I've spent 10 years, more than 10 years, alongside my father, Avery Bradley, in a probate law practice. Had the opportunity to work aggressively alongside Macy Gaines, and I can tell you she is competent, capable, and ready for that seat. We came through this together, so I've got that experience. A lot of mental health cases were litigated during that time period. Why does that matter for 36th District Court? It matters because we have a specialty docket. And as we know, mental health crises happen every day. And there's an intersection between criminal matters and the mental health issues. We're keeping an eye on that from the city of Detroit. We're concerned about that right now, as we should be. But not everything should result in a jail cell. Sometimes it should result in a specialty court where there's treatment, there's advocacy, there's different outcomes. There's a guardianship case that comes out of it. I'm prepared to do that work. I'm also prepared from a criminal law standpoint. I've practiced alongside my father, and we did criminal law. I'm also prepared for 36th District Court because I'm general counsel there now. And so I'm in the role of a key administrator. I make policy decisions every day, and my thought and my mindset is on access to justice every day. I'm going to carry those principles through if you all elect me as your next 36th District Court judge. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Before we jump into the conversation, she's the founder of Our Own Wall Street. She has an announcement to make.
So thank you all for coming. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, really. The nonpartisan side is very important. Just because, like I said, the work that we were able to do with Judge Sabree, I would love to keep a relationship as you all grow and do everything you do. But I also would like to give acknowledgement to a young man that works for the city. You may have seen it on the news where it was graffiti spray painted on the nonprofit place where women have been sexually victimized. He and his co-worker, they sprayed on, they weren't assigned to do this, they just did it. And so the ladies called them back, gave them hugs and gift certificates to thank them. But I also want to thank them. One is personal because that's my son. So he stopped me from work, so I just wanted to interrupt you for 5 minutes to give him the Spirit of Detroit Award, which Andrea will present. She's our membership chair on Wall Street.
I'm the membership chair for Our Own Wall Street, and for all of you who are in attendance today who are not members of Our Own Wall Street, membership is open, and we appreciate your support. But on behalf of the City of Detroit, Our Own Wall Street would like to present the Spirit of Detroit Award, and this is presented herewith as an expression of the gratitude and esteem of the citizens of Detroit to Otis Lorenzo Gorman II in recognition of exceptional achievement, outstanding leadership, and dedication to improving the quality of life by the City of Detroit on behalf of City Council and Council President Mary Sheffield. Our Own Wall Street presents Otis Lorenzo Gorman II with the Spirit of Detroit Award.
His co-worker couldn't make it, but we have one for him too. So thank you. And if you ever watch our videos for the Warrant Clinic, most people call him Can't Get Right because he betrayed somebody that missed the Warrant Clinic. But he has license. Thank you. Thank you, Otis. See you later.
Have a great day. So I am super excited to get started with this panel discussion. You ladies have me convinced that you all are, would you say, competent, capable, and ready.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
The first question we'll give to you, Judge Sabree, and we're going to be talking about voter education for this first question. Judicial races often don't get as much attention from the media. So thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you to our media and press that are here as well. But how can we, as a community, ensure that voters are well informed about the importance of electing judges?
Okay, so I will be frank, as anyone who knows me knows I just get to the point.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult task, and I don't know if that will change anytime soon, because as Andrea stated, once you're on the bench, we kind of stay there until we decide we want to leave or we age out. people have to, and voters have to be a little more diligent. On our end, we can't stand in front of a group of people and say what we promised to do. We can't say we're going to give you this or we're going to promise this. All we can promise is that we'll be fair and impartial and that we'll treat you right and follow the law. So there's not much that we can say publicly. We can't talk about our opinion on Roe versus Wade. We can't say how we feel about a lot of things. Abortion access, like that, those things are off topic. So we become very restricted with what we can even say to the public. So on our end, it's a little difficult too. What I encourage and what we are doing, and it's been done across the state, and I really am pushing for it at 36, is to continue to increase the access for people to view court on Zoom, on YouTube, and our doors are always open. We allow cell phones, not to record, but you can come in, so now you don't have to catch a taxi, or you have to do different things where it's difficult to even get down to the court. And with that, I tell people, if you ever have time to just come to 36, if you sit in the courtroom, you can really get a good idea with those who already are elected, how they treat people. Sometimes you got to get them off the ballot and you got to share the word. But for those who are not practicing, you got to be a little more diligent. You got to find their websites. Everyone has websites. You got to talk to other people in the community, other attorneys who have practiced with them, and you just have to be very diligent with the way that you select your judicial candidates. And it's not easy. So it's no great answer, but you just got to work a little bit harder. And I appreciate it because sometimes I'm saying colleagues, not even at 36, there are certain people that I don't think should be on the bench. So we don't all stick together as people think. There are some people who should have never been elected or appointed. And I just hope that people take our position seriously and do the research.
Thank you so much. Next question goes to Macy Gaines. So you deal with probate court, and it often deals with very personal matters. How can voters better understand the impact on their families and why prioritize this race?
So it's important to prioritize this race because one, it's not a popular court. It's not like criminal, civil, family. Those are generally what a lot of people are familiar with. Probate's one of those courts that you go to, or you don't really know a lot about it until you need it. When you need it, it's often one of the hardest times of your life. Someone can no longer make decisions, someone passed away, someone has a mental health crisis, diagnosed or undiagnosed, and needs immediate attention. And I think it's important to prioritize this race because you have to understand what people are coming in for probate. When I'm going into probate, I'm going in there because my mom can't talk anymore. And I'm asking the court to allow me to make decisions. If I'm going into probate, I'm going to make decisions for my brother who's in a psych ward because he might have smoked some bad weed or took something that he shouldn't have, or is just mentally ill and we don't know. When I'm going into probate, I'm going in there because my little brother was born with autism. You know, there's so many different situations and circumstances that probate deals with. And what makes it very unique is it's one of the courts where the citizens who are entering probate are not coming in for themselves. Anybody going into probate is going in to ask the court to act on someone else's behalf, to make decisions on someone else's behalf, to distribute property for, you know, whoever passed away, their family. And so what I think is important is you have to prioritize it because it's more, I don't want to say likely than not, but there is a chance that you would need it at some point, and you do want somebody who does have experience, compassion, and who does understand what's going on in the specific court, who knows how to navigate Wayne County Probate Court in particular, because it's one of the largest in Michigan, and it does have its flaws. So you want to vote for your probate judges and vote for competent, experienced ones. So.
And to drive that point home just a little bit more, give us a layman's answer in terms of why we would ever show up at probate court, right? So how is it that I'm showing up at probate court with my family's estate at stake?
So you would get to probate court, so if somebody passes away and leaves assets that, like houses, bank accounts, property, jewelry, really anything, you have to open up an estate, and the estate appoints a person to stand in the person who passed away's shoes. So you basically stand in their shoes, make decisions, and distribute the property according to what they want or the law, depending on if there's a will or not. So families will often enter, the most common thing right now is really for property. So if somebody passes away and has a home, you have to go to probate to transfer it, unless you have a estate plan or an estate plan in place to facilitate that. You generally have to go to probate. There's many other circumstances where you do end up in probate again, like guardianships. I've had guardianship of my nephew before for a little bit, and I needed to be able to I was taking care of him, but I also needed to make decisions. So to enroll him in school, we had to go get guardianship. So there's different realistic things that come through probate that are very common, more common than not. So.
Thank you so much for that. Next question goes to Adrian Scruggs. So you are running for Circuit Court Judge. Tell us a little bit more about Circuit Court Judge and why it's important that we vote for you for a Circuit Court Judge.
Absolutely, thank you. So again, the Circuit Court is not just one area and one division. The Circuit Court has several divisions. It's the civil division. So if you're suing somebody, getting sued, get a car accident, got an insurance claim situation going on, it's over $25,000, you're going to file that in the civil division. You got a criminal matter that's been bound over from the district court, from 36th District Court or another district court, that's going to go into the criminal division. That used to be, everybody would say, you're going to Frank Murphy? No, that's now the Criminal Justice Center because they moved over now. Then you've got the domestic division, and that's divided amongst your juvenile section and your family division. Think friend of the court, custody, parenting time, divorce, spousal support, property, things like that. And then your juvenile, your abuse and neglect, and your delinquency docket. So those are all the areas of the circuit court. 59 judges approximately, and any newly elected or appointed judge has no idea which division they're going to be placed in, except you know you're not going to civil because that's all seniority. All of the senior judges are over in the civil division. And Wayne County does what I lovingly refer to as the Hollywood show. And so the senior judges in their division, they say, hey, you know, this seat over here in the civil division just opened up. I want to leave criminal and I want to go over there. Where I got more seniority, so now I'm going over there. And then somebody else says, hey, I'm in family. I want to go over to criminal. And so then they leave the family division and they go over to criminal. And those are two examples that most recently happened. And so now their seats opened up and I don't know which division. The benefit of having Adrian Scruggs as your next Wayne County Circuit Court Judge is that I have practiced in those areas alone. And I have the experience not only just, again, going before the bench and advocating for my clients, but understanding where they need to make decisions for families. I deal in family law, and there are no hard and fast rules when you deal with family law. It's the most subjective area of law that I found because it's based on the analysis, especially if you're doing let's say I'm going to just do parenting time. Well, I've got to do a 25-factor analysis just before I'm touching parenting time changes. I'm going to make decisions right now on whether or not somebody can take their child out of the state or so far away. If they're going up in Upper Michigan, you're over 100 miles away. So I make those decisions now. And I understand what it means when people don't know how to make the arguments themselves, but they're coming before the court and they're just asking you for help. And they're telling you that this is the thing that's happening. They don't know how to say it in the right legal words, but they're telling you this is what's happening. And I know the law says I'll get some relief. I know that I'm supposed to have some changes. Can you help me? Are you going to help me? And so I'm that person who right now is either being the barrier or the bridge. And I see those people because that's our responsibility. I'm a public servant and I have been for the majority of my career. And I understand that this role is serving us and not serving self. And so I have that experience of presiding over those cases and making those decisions. And everything that we do is all intertwined. And so I've had that experience as well. Because working in private practice, you know, I did 36th District Court, Lord, I did. I did, and you cut your teeth as a private practitioner going down to 36th District Court and learning the ropes.
Builds character.
It absolutely does. It does. And then working in that civil division, but even in family, we're interacting with probate court. Because our custody and parenting time decisions, they would have to yield, especially if there's a guardianship that's happened. Grandma got guardianship over this child, So we can't make those decisions about custody and parenting time. My sister used to have guardianship over my nephew. And so when you come into court, or who's giving you child support? Well, it's not going to this parent, you gotta redirect it. So it's all of those things, but I have that experience. And I am capable, competent, and exceedingly qualified to serve as your next circuit court judge.
Okay, thank you so much. Malika, so you've spent nearly 5 years as magistrate. How has this helped shape your vision as for serving as a judge, and what changes do you hope to bring to the 36th District Court?
Thank you. Yes, I've been a magistrate at the court for about 5 years now. Why is that helpful?
So how has this
It's
shaped
a
your
two-part question. I think I got stuck on the second
No
part.
worries. How has this shaped your vision for serving as a judge, and what changes do you hope to bring to the 36th District Court?
Thank you. Okay. So the first part, how has it shaped my vision for serving as a judge? Magistrates in Detroit are different than other areas of the state. We perform many judicial functions. So I've been performing judicial functions for about 5 years. How has that shaped what I want to see as a judge and what I hope to do? It takes experience working with Detroiters at 36th District Court to do this. People come to us with a number of different backgrounds, education levels, advantages in life and disadvantages in life. And every single one of those people is deserving of your full attention, your full explanation, and full justice. And I think we have a really wonderful court. We have a chief who is progressive about a number of issues, but we've got some people on the court who are not as respectful to the citizens that they serve as they should be. And, you know, you have to be very careful to stay connected to your community so that you do not get that black road complex, and you remember who you are and who your community is, and you see the commonalities with your community versus the differences. And so that you are asking questions, and that you are not assuming that because someone is rude to you or overly excited, that that is about you. It is not about you. These people in front of you are facing sometimes some of the most difficult things in their life. So yes, they're excited. They may be irritable, and that's okay. That's okay. It does not change the role that you are there to play, right? Which is to be calm, as Adrian says, to exercise your knowledge, to exercise compassion. So I think in terms of changes, that, like really making sure that in every courtroom, citizens are experiencing civility from the people who work for them and who service them. And then, you know, we have a number of amazing programs at the court. I'm very happy with a lot of the diversion that the court is doing so that if you get into trouble at a young age, you're not stuck with a felony for the rest of your life that prevents you from fully engaging in our society and becoming who you are meant to be. And I think we just continue to expand that while balancing that with keeping our community safe, and I think we can do both things.
Thank you so much for that. Andrea, so you are also a lifelong Detroiter, and you're also running for 36th District Court. What unique challenges or opportunities do you believe that the 36th District Court faces, and how do you plan to address them as judge as well?
Absolutely, I appreciate the question. So, I am a Detroiter, and I'm really like Detroiters are, okay? I feel like I've put myself in positions that have challenged me to see the lens and the soul of the people and how they will come in front of the bench. I didn't mention, as I was droning on earlier, I was also an administrative law judge for the state of Michigan and working in Department of Human Service cases, and then also a hearing officer for the city of Detroit doing the blight cases. So I've seen it from the perspective of a bench and made evidentiary decisions. I do believe that, and I think you asked about changes.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think that one of the things, not necessarily changes, because from a policy perspective, I've had a couple things in the pipeline that I've been working on as general counsel, right? That I'm happy about and proud about. We had that amnesty program, that was my baby. And so it helped people to get rid of outstanding tickets without causing them to, have late fees and things of that nature. I want to continue to do those things, but from a judicial standpoint. As was championed when we came in, Judge Shabri had the warrant clinic. There's something about having community court, okay? There's something about removing that veil of the building, the parking, the road. Okay, maybe you still have the road, but at the point that we're sitting here together in this type of room, or at your church, or at the school, or somewhere where you feel disarmed, then now we're having a conversation about what it is. Instead of about all of the pretext of you having to come into this intimidating environment. Larry Williams does regular Capuchin Soup Kitchen community outreach court. I've talked to a couple of faith-based institutions, and because I have the position as general counsel, I can start this and have started this conversation already. What would it look like if I were to continue this on a broader scale? Can that happen? And so I'm already planning for what that would look like and be as a judge. And that's why I think that the people in-house already seeing the job, already doing it, are most prepared for it. So that's what I say.
Thank you, thank you. So now we're going to move to judicial platform. And Macy, your campaign emphasizes compassion, experience, and service. How do you envision upholding this compassion, experience, and service as a probate judge, especially when handling sensitive cases involving families and vulnerable adults?
Well, to begin, I've also served at the pleasure of every sitting probate judge right now as a guardian ad litem. My job as guardian ad litem is to be the eyes and the ears of the court. And so what I do on certain cases is the judge will assign it to me, and I will go out and do an investigation to really get into the facts and meet all of the people involved in a certain case, to write a report to the judge and recommend how to rule. And I think from that lens, it's provided me a lot of compassion, because what I do is when somebody is filing a petition to become guardian of someone, I go out and visit that person. I go out and look and see if their home is okay. I make sure that their money is still in their bank account and their Social Security is being spent appropriately. I also have done the mental health docket many times as an appointed counsel for the probate court, where I've probably been to every single psych unit in Wayne County where we sit there and, I visit the person who is involuntarily hospitalized in the mental health facility. And it's taught me patience and it's taught me compassion, because the reality is when someone is going through a manic episode, it's really not them. Most of the time they don't remember, or they're trying to figure it out as it's happening. And that would be hard and difficult for anyone to manage. So how I bring compassion, experience, and service to the bench is, one, I've developed the compassion, again, from my own personal experiences in probate. But also in my work in probate, which I'm going to tag on to the experience, is I've done over 1,000 of those cases where I go out specifically and really meet with everyone. And I've seen the good and the bad. I've also met a lot of individuals who wanted to maintain their independence, and they wanted that level of compassion from someone. They don't want every time I visit someone in those cases, let's say, for instance, an individual or a woman who may be about 80, 90. A lot of times people will come in and they'll say, my mom can't make decisions, I need to be her guardian. But when I go and sit in her house at her table, we talk, and she's like, I don't remember a lot, but I do want a little bit of independence. They do want their voice heard, and they do want to be as independent as possible until they eventually transition. But it's giving that time, and that giving the time necessary for each case, and understanding that each case does not have a cookie cutter approach. Starting with a blank canvas every time a new file is opened is very important, and it is necessary to provide the time, the experience, and to serve that individual who comes in court. So that's how it happens.
Thank you so much. Judge Sabree, what are some key elements of your judicial platform that will resonate with most voters?
So I didn't mention I'm on the ballot too. But it's not really about me right now because thankfully I'm unopposed this time. So in 2018 I had to run a different race. This time I'm out because I actually am encouraging everyone to vote for every candidate up here. I can wholeheartedly say that I am backing them all and I support them. I've been in front of them. They've been Andrea and I go back 14 years. So we've crossed paths several times. She's our general counsel. She advises judges on what to do sometimes. So I have seen their work and I just want to say that first. But as far as my platform, it's very simple. It's first thing, treating people right. So I deal with some of the most disgusting, gruesome cases you will ever hear. So I'm on the felony docket and I hear homicides every Tuesday and Thursday. I hear sexual assault cases, child abuse, elder abuse, domestic violence felonies. I see the most gruesome videos I've seen, and I'm glad the news isn't covering it all because I think we will all be living in fear. But I say that to say, no matter what I'm seeing or the facts or the circumstances, I have to make sure that I check myself and everyone still gets their chance in court, their constitutional rights protected, and me being fair. So it's difficult, and we are humans as well. Some people forget when we put a robe on, they think we turn into somebody different. But I have a daughter, I have a family, I have a job to protect our community, and at the same time, I also have a job to make sure people are treated with respect and dignity through the process. I always think about if I go into a community by myself and someone I see in court or I bound over to Third Circuit, how are they going to treat me? And I'm not going to say a fear, I'm not concerned, I'm not looking over my back when I'm out in the community because I have never treated anyone to where I feel like they would do something to me, even if I did find them guilty or send them on their way to life in prison. Because the most important thing is that while doing this, people are not going to like your decisions all the time as a judge. Somebody's going to be unhappy, but I've gotten thank yous from people before, and I have bound them over to trial and have said on the record, you're probably going to go to prison, or the facts show that you did this, and still get a thank you just because of how you treat them. So my platform and what's important to me and what I want the judges coming on the bench, and I don't have an issue or concern with the ladies up here, is just treating people how they should be treated. Detroit is a very unique city, and I think a lot of us walk around with trauma and backgrounds. You can't treat people, you gotta be more than just a judge. Like, we're already wearing the robe, we're the bosses, we know we can make a decision, we can hold you in contempt, we can do a lot with your life, so we don't have to bark back. We got to take people as they are, understand where they're coming from. Detroit is just different, just reminding people and the judges, which I wish I could do more of with my colleagues sometimes, that you relax, okay? You're in a position of power, and just treat everybody with dignity. That's where I am.
I love that. And speaking of being more than a judge, right? So oftentimes we think that judges have superpowers, especially when they put on that role. But you mentioned that you see some of the most gruesome cases. As a woman, as a mother, as a sister, as a daughter, how do you balance that with your mental health and still remain fair?
Impartial. So, and I'm going to be honest, I have a therapist every Friday, 3:45, for 45 minutes to an hour. Do not disturb me. I'm talking to my therapist. She knows what I do for a living, and I have told her this is why I am hiring you, to deal with my work-related issues. And I think it's important for all of us to have somebody to talk to who can't share your secrets because their license will get taken from them. And have that time to decompress. And it helps because when I first got on that docket, it was heavy. And I would call Andrea like, listen, I just need to come here and eat some pretzels for a minute and get ready for the next section. So I had one day where there were 4 girls, 4 different cases, all ages between 9 and 13, who had been molested by their fathers, uncles, the mama's boyfriends, and people in there with tears, tissues, and I have to keep it together. I can't be the one crying, and I have to use the tools that I've been given in therapy. Think about this, separate this, like my own life experiences. So it's work, and those are things that you don't think about, because people really do think that we are like different and we don't have feelings. Keeping a straight face, because we are recorded videos, like we're video recorded now. So I can't sit up there with a disgusted face. I have to just be completely just listening to the facts. So it's an ongoing process, but I am dedicated to making sure that there's someone who's hearing these cases that can still be fair and understand all the different complexities of it.
You're there for a reason. The chief judge appointed you there for a reason. I'm sorry.
No worries. Yeah, and absolutely thank you for your service and your sacrifice, because that's a lot.
And I just want to say, I really need us as a community. I can't figure out, I don't have the answer, but the conversation is where it starts. When I tell people about these type of cases, they're like, I didn't know this was going on in the Black community. I didn't know it was this rampant. And the question I'm still asking is, what do we do before it gets to the courts, as far as these young girls and boys being molested and assaulted by family members and friends and people who we trust or we thought we could trust in the community. So I think the conversation is the first place to start. What are we going to do about this?
Yeah, that's very heavy. There. And again, we commend you for your service and your sacrifice. Thank you for all that you do. Okay, Adrienne, I'm going to stay with the same question for you. What are some key elements of your platform that will resonate with most voters?
Right, well, I'm going to pivot again and say thank you, because emotional maturity and emotional regulation is so vital in what we're doing, because we're serving others before ourselves. Ourselves would require us to, respond quick, but that service to others has us prioritizing our role and responsibility, and that's a part of the platform. Making sure that I am seeing the person and not just a docket number. Wayne County is huge. It is the largest in the state, over 1.7 million people in Wayne County. And the volume of cases that comes before the court is absolutely beyond. When I was a friend of the court attorney, every Monday I had a show cause docket with just one judge who I assisted. And it was 36 cases every single Monday, just for me and that judge. But I was in a room with 3 others. And so we all had that show cause docket every Monday. And then every other week, every other day of the week, somebody else for the other judges had those same dockets on the volume. So it's easy for you to forget that you have a person and a real person in front of you. And just go, so you can go ahead and manage your docket, meet your scale, deadlines and everything like that. But you gotta take a moment and treat people with dignity, respect, and see that person, hear the person, and give them the absolute best. I research and prepare for every case that I have. When you've come before me on a motion docket, and these aren't things I'm gonna do, these are things I currently do. When you come before me on a motion docket, I can tell you what's happened by the time the complaint was filed to what brought you here in every relevant order, because it's important to know why you're here and what type of relief you've had, what type of relief could be possible, and hear the arguments to see where the law falls in there and what we can do to resolve the issues there. When I'm having my evidentiary hearings, which I do now, which are like bench trials, because I've got attorneys coming in there with bankers boxes and they're bringing in witnesses, and I've got to qualify them to testify as an expert witness, and I'm doing all of this stuff, the whole court experience. But I've got to be prepared for that. What is the issue of law that is coming before me? Am I going to allow this attorney to take advantage of this other person, this other party, who is unrepresented? And I've had those cases where I've had to step in, where an attorney is trying to have something admitted into evidence that they knew good and well the court rules nor the law would allow. And so when I say, well, I'll tell you what, counsel, If you want this admitted into evidence, I will let you make a record. And you can argue this courtroom, and you can argue this case and tell me how you're entitled to this relief. They quickly back away. Because we have a responsibility to make sure that we're protecting the integrity of our proceedings and maintaining equity. And sometimes that means that we gotta stand in the gap and not allow abuses to happen in front of us when we know that's what's happening, right? And those abuses don't always just happen with attorneys. Sometimes they happen with interpreters who come before the court. Because I've had cases where an interpreter was there for one person. Both mom and dad spoke a different language, but the interpreter was just there for mom. And they were translating. They're on the record. And dad says, I need to stop for a minute. He's getting very frustrated. We're in family law, so it's already a little hot topic. He's getting very frustrated. And he says, I need him to stop saying this word. So I'm like, okay, well, what's going on? Tell me what it is that he's saying. That is, this word that he's using is offensive to me. It means this. He can use this other word and it will have the same meaning, but it will not cause offense. And I asked the interpreter, because we're on the record, we gotta stay on the record for this. Make a clean record. That's also some of the things that you have to do. And I say, well, is this correct? Well, yeah, it does, but you know, I can use that word. I said, I tell you what, if what you're doing, if use of this word is causing offense to this person, use the alternative. You don't have a choice to offend someone just because you want to. If they've got a separate meaning, then you're going to use a separate meaning. You're going to use an alternative word. We had a little back and forth, but I'm a hearing officer. And it's my hearing proceeding at that time. And I'm going to protect the integrity and the dignity of our proceeding. And so he had to follow along. But it's those kind of things that I bring to the court. It's that experience, it's that knowledge, it's that know-how, it's that practice. It's the talking and having to do minor child interviews and hearing kids share their truth and their joys and their sorrows, and you're trying to make it right for them when they leave you because they don't want to leave. It's having to hear those parties when they say in testimony, well, I only choked him a little bit until I felt his Adam's apple. And you're talking about a 6-year-old boy and you're 5'8" and 300 pounds, Mom. And having to say, oh, well, we're doing this on the record and call and make a CPS report. So it's those kind of experiences that I've had as a hearing officer. And it's that knowledge and understanding and that wealth of practice that I bring and present to you that I'm prepared to be your next circuit court judge.
Thank you. Let's move to Malika. You work with incarcerated women and indigent defendants. How do you plan to ensure that marginalized communities have fair access to justice?
Thank you. You know, Judge Spree spoke about the live streaming that we do now. The court, I think it's extremely important. It gives individual access to what is happening in their court in real time if they wish to experience it. I think that providing access in that way. One of the things that we really have to remember when we're dealing with citizens, as I've said, not everyone has had the advantage of the same education level. And it's really important to stop and explain things. I'm one judge, so I don't make, or I'm a magistrate, and hopefully I'll be one judge, so I don't make policy for the court, right? But what I can do is ensure that equity is happening in my courtroom. And the way that I do that now is by explaining things thoroughly. You know, I stopped arraignments the other day to ask a person, can you hear and understand what's happening in court? Because I realized I was getting so much feedback from the environment that they were in that I had to mute them so that I could hear the attorneys. And then it occurred to me, well, they may not be hearing the attorneys either. And so it's trying to just really be mindful all the time that, you know, because on the other end, they got people who are just pushing them through a process. They want to get it done. And we've got very, very heavy dockets. I think I had almost 50 cases that afternoon, okay? And staff that wants to go home. But it's important to stop and say, are you hearing and understanding everything that's happening here? It's also very, very important important not to minimize things that to some of us seem minimal, right? A traffic ticket is not minimal. It causes people to lose their driver's license. And it has a snowball effect until they then have warrants out for their arrest. And the court has been very, very good about this. We have a policy against cash bonds for traffic tickets. Because, yes, it's an amazing, amazing thing that we do in Detroit. Because what will happen is, you may have a stack, and I had this out with someone the other day. Someone may have 30, 40 tickets in front of you, right? But much of our population is transient. Just because they got a ticket doesn't mean they knew when they were supposed to come to court. And now they've got a warrant associated with every single one of those tickets. So it's remembering who we're serving and the difficulties that people face, and making sure that we are addressing those things in a unique way. As a magistrate, I do arraignments on the weekends and the holidays for cities all throughout Wayne County. And often when there's somebody who doesn't like what I've done, it's one of those cities outside of Detroit. But, you know, it's very important to remember who we are serving. And, you know, don't make presumptions about this person. Well, we gave them this form and it said and they signed it. That doesn't matter. You need to make sure that someone explained it to them before they told them to sign it, because they're in a vulnerable position where they're just doing what people say. Somebody says, sign this, they sign it. That doesn't mean they read it or they understood it. So it's just being very careful at every step of the process.
Thank you so much. Andrea, so similar question. How do you envision improving accessibility for marginalized groups who may feel intimidated by the legal system?
Absolutely. And first, let me say to everybody who's out there, thank you all for being here and your attention. I know I don't want to steal our wonderful moderator's thunder, but I know I'm coming at the end of, you know, this line of question, and I can see you all attentively listening, so thank you for your presence and attention. As I said initially, my job now is removing and preserving access to justice. So that's what I do at the court every day. And so what does that look like? I can go division by division. I'll give you an example quickly. For landlord-tenant, when we had the shift post-pandemic where the city of Detroit enacted a right to counsel ordinance, that allowed for tenants who were suffering a housing crisis to have access to counsel with free of charge, okay? So they don't have to pay for an attorney. But how do they know that?
Right.
Who's telling them that? If you're at home and you're saying, oh my goodness, there's an issue, I've got this notice saying I have to come to court, but I know that when I get there, the plaintiff or the landlord is going to have his big bad attorney with his briefcase ready to throw me out, and that makes you not come because you feel like there's just nothing that you can do, or you're in a fight that you can't win, so I'm just going to stand down from the fight altogether. It's important to communicate to the residents in the city of Detroit on a continual basis. And so I've been a part of including, there's an eviction defense department through the city, right? They have a huge hand in making sure that tenants' rights are upheld in this process. So I made the shift. These flyers, I asked them to bring their flyers to us. Bring your flyers to us so that alongside the notice to quit that's coming from the court is also the information telling you help is here. You're going to have an issue, but here's some help, call the number, okay? So pairing that information and continuing to close the educational gap is removing barriers and preserving the access that people need to understand what has to happen in a courthouse. As we've all said, this is not a place that people are excited to come, except the very few people that come to get married, because that happens there, okay? But aside from that small population of people, when you're coming into 36, there's something going on that's not good. And so we have to continue to open up the lines of communication. When we do have an amnesty, we went crazy on the media. You know, we went everywhere. On my own personal social media page, I'm putting it out there. Now, as a judge, you know, your ability to speak to certain things does get restricted. Our position on the presidential election, we can't say it, okay? So understand that from a policy perspective now, I have a lot more room to do things and promote access to justice. But what I do know from being in the administration is that we have such an open door to the chief judge, the chief pro tem, and the court administrators, such that if we have ideas and ways that our courtrooms could potentially be better or flow better, or we're seeing trends from the community, they're missing this information, they need this, then our court, our administrators will make sure that those things do happen. So I will stay engaged. I will not shy away from any leadership opportunities. I have thoroughly enjoyed my time as general counsel and being a decision maker for the court.
Thank you so much. Let's give
For the last 5 years, I do childbirth classes, parenting classes. You receive a certificate as well when you attend. And I'm partnering right now with Royal Oak Courts, but I would love to be with the City of Detroit because they ask for like certificates. We just started a new 7-week fast track program for moms where they attend. I provide them with a stipend. We help them learn how to resume write, get jobs, get ready for school. We do a lot of, we give away free diapers, wipes, swimming products. We do a teen mom prom. I missed out on my high school prom. So we just did our 3rd annual one this year. And I just love helping the community.
I'm going to give you another resource. Martin Evans Missionary Baptist Church is in Detroit. It's on the east side. Pastor Alonzo Bell. He does a program similar to what you do.
Yes, we partner.
Yes, there you go.
Thank you. Yes, I do.
Thank you so much.
I got some directions that are too small to go.
I was thinking
Perfect. Do we have any more questions from the audience? We'll go with you in the front, and then you can back. Yeah. Oh, that's it. That's the last one. Okay.
First of all, I'll introduce myself. My name is Shirley Kagaskis, and I would like to tell Shanique, thank you for inviting me. Thank you for, I'm Vice President of the North End Gateway Block Club. I have my own nonprofit organization, Just Us Now, and this is just phenomenal. I love to be around positive women that look like myself, to encourage me, to let me know that what I'm doing the right thing. And obviously, because I'm in the room, to get educated on everything that I need to do. My nonprofit organization, my community is the Returning Citizens. I love the Returning Citizens. I have a phenomenal program that I baby down. It's called the Grants. Getting reintroduced as nurturing development starts, and that program is based upon grandchildren of the returning citizen. The individual went to prison, they had children. Now they have grandchildren, they're getting ready to be released. They don't know the grandchildren at all, so they are foreign to them. So I put a program together to help them to build a relationship or connect or reconnect. And with that being said, trying to do all of that, be in the community, trying to help the community, doing your own nonprofit too, and still have a loved one that I'm dealing with issues within the probate. I feel like the probate system in Wayne County failed me. I have a story to tell. It's not a platform to share it at this moment, but I feel like they failed me. I'll give you a little snippet. My son is 35.
We're gonna end, so thank you for your mind.
And thank you all for coming out again. I would love to do this again before Election Day. I know you guys have super busy schedules, but this information is definitely important to get out to the masses, whether it's in an intimate setting or it's in a larger, broader setting with security and all of that. I would love to do this again because we received some important and very some very good information in terms of a ladybird deed, who we need to talk to for probate, who we need to vote for judge, and who we need to vote for 36th district as well. So thank you guys so much for coming out. I hope this discussion has left everyone empowered as well as informed informed as we approach Election Day. And the last thing that I have to say is happy voting. So thank you.